This is episode 4 in a series of 20. A link to the playlist for this series will be added to the description. Some scholars hold the view that giants are nothing more than figments of popular imagination or mere products of myth and legend. They argue that the ubiquity of giants in every mythology can be attributed to our tendency to personify the concepts of good and evil. However, this explanation falls short in many areas, most notably when observing the many colossal ancient structures that have been found scattered across the globe. These titanic remains present a fascinating enigma, not only due to their sheer size, but also because of the immense logistical challenges posed by their construction and transport. These structures range from the most ancient megaliths, known as menhirs, which are roughly hewn stones planted vertically in the earth, to dolmens, which consist of two towering slabs supporting a massive stone poised on top. Both types of megalith are found in Brittany, Wales, Cornwall, northern Germany, Switzerland, Corsica, Apulia, and Spain, as well as in the Middle East, Turkestan, Mongolia, China, India, and throughout South America. Menhirs, those ancient and enigmatic standing stones, are regarded by some as mere phallic symbols. However, for quite some time now, many archaeologists have come to see them in a different light, interpreting them instead as representations of human or even superhuman figures. This view finds support in the myths and legends of various cultures across the globe. Take, for instance, the Greek legend of Deucalion and Pyrrha. After the Great Flood, these two survivors threw stones behind their backs, and to their amazement, the stones transformed into the men and women who were destined to repopulate the world. This tale bears a striking resemblance to the story of the African sky gods, who breathed life into humankind by blowing the wind so that their souls entered into rocks. Similarly, the Polynesians and ancient Peruvians seem to envision gigantic beings when they described the creation of men, women, and animals from large stones. Seurat holds the intriguing belief that the ancient megaliths were originally carved by giants and fashioned in their own formidable image. He suggests that in later times, men imitated these colossal creations as a means of evoking and recalling to life those ancient beings whom their imaginations had elevated to the status of deities. More specifically, Seurat posits that the menhirs signify mankind's cyclopean ancestors, while the dolmens represent their sacred tablets. In support of his theory, Seurat references the work of John Layard, an ethnographer and psychologist who devoted his studies to the inhabitants of a group of islands to the southeast of New Guinea. According to Seurat, Layard discovered that it was customary among these islanders to erect a dolmen, typically 3 or 4 feet high, before the statue of an ancestor. This dolmen, often constructed from 3 stones but sometimes more elaborate, symbolized the giant's table, upon which pigs, specially bred for this purpose, were sacrificed. Yet Layard, through his investigations, also found that in times not so distant, men were sacrificed in place of pigs as sustenance for the giants. Seurat contends that this was a universal custom during the waning days of the era of giants. He cites a native legend that speaks of benevolent giants who first taught men the arts of civilization. However, these good giants were eventually followed by malevolent ones who required stone tables upon which to feast on men. Yes, the evil giants were essentially cannibals. Another legend tells of Tagaro, a good giant who descended from the sky. Suke, an evil giant, battled Tagaro but was ultimately cast into the abyss, much like the wicked giants of Greek myth, who were vanquished by the righteous gods. Though the giants eventually vanished from the world, men, still gripped by terror, continued to maintain statues, tables, and ritual sacrifices of men or pigs, just in case these wicked giants returned. It is indeed remarkable that echoes of the oceanic legends resound in the myths of many distant lands. The Greeks, for instance, weave tales of cannibalism that strike a familiar chord. Who can forget the Titan Kronos, who devoured his own offspring, or Homer's Cyclops, feasting with savage delight upon human flesh? As Hermann and Georg Schreiber astutely observe in Vanished Cities, the legends of giants, widely disseminated in ancient America, form an integral part of the Aztec creation myth. However, parallels to these tales can be found throughout various parts of South America. These myths even share the peculiar detail that these unruly giants treated women merely as sustenance. an abominable crime for which they were ultimately smitten by the heavens. These malevolent giants were, without doubt, the architects or at least the inspirers of cromlechs, those crooked stones arranged in circles and dedicated to deities, or rather to the giants themselves, who arrogated divine honors. Among the most renowned of these structures is Stonehenge in England, where each year on Midsummer's Day, a crowd gathers to witness the rising sun filling the aperture above the main altar with a magical circle of light. One sect that meets there to conduct their ceremonies holds the belief that Stonehenge was the very cradle of the Druidic religion. Yet there is no scientific foundation for this claim, for Stonehenge had stood for many centuries before the Druids began their rites in Europe. It is well known that by 1400 BC, the inner sanctuary had already taken on its present form, while the outer ring was erected by 1800 BC at the latest, and likely much earlier. This magnificent structure consists partly of local stone and partly of stones quarried from distant Wales and Scotland. The mystery of Stonehenge is indeed a captivating one, but even more sensational is the discovery that its builders appear to have had connections with Homeric Greece. Archaeologists in southern England have unearthed a representation of a sword strikingly similar to those wielded by the warriors of the Iliad. The weapon was previously thought to be unknown beyond the confines of ancient Greece. However, its discovery now suggests a far-reaching exchange of knowledge and culture in the ancient world. Equally fascinating is the work of the French archaeologist R. Grosjean, who uncovered reliefs on Corsican menhirs depicting swords and daggers of exquisite craftsmanship and singular design. These findings further support the notion that ancient civilizations, though separated by vast distances, shared common elements and were interconnected in ways we are only beginning to understand. Megalithic structures of this kind are found on every continent. And another curious fact emerges. The stones used in their construction were often transported from distant lands. For example, slabs of African stone have been found erected in Ireland. Additionally, megalithic structures discovered in southern Russia and Siberia appear to have been quarried far from their resting places, since there are no mountains or suitable stone sources for miles around. These simple yet awe-inspiring monuments captured the imagination of the ancient Greeks and Romans alike. Consider, for instance, the words of Apollonius Rhodius, who lived in the 3rd century BC. He seems to venture into the realm of science fiction when he describes the Greek megaliths as living stones, possessed of such sensibility that they can be moved by mental force. We cannot assign an exact date to these cyclopean works, but as we draw nearer to the present day, their grandeur only grows more astonishing. The prehistoric forts of Ireland and eastern Scotland are awe-inspiring in their own right, as are the calcined platforms of Iceland, vast and smooth as a modern missile launching site. Yet similar marvels are not confined to the Old World. In the New World too, we find examples of such architectural wonders. In the state of Paraíba in eastern Brazil, for instance, there stands a colossal ruined fortress with walls towering over 80 feet high and 16 feet thick. They enclose an inner hall that once measured an astounding 164 yards by 50 yards. South America is replete with ruins of equally stupendous scale. Yet, as the French archaeologist and journalist Robert Charroux observes, the great Peruvian monoliths are of small account compared to the stones of Baalbek. The ruins of this ancient Lebanese city, with its vast sanctuaries, stand as a testament to the baffling achievements of a people who, in the dim dawn of history, discovered how to transport, cut, and lift into place blocks weighing 750 tons. This was accomplished in an era long before the advent of trucks, reinforced concrete, or even the keystone. Some of the foundation stones at Baalbek are 80 feet long, with a breadth and height of 15 feet. In the quarry from which they were hewn, half a mile from the city, there remains the largest cut stone in the world, known as Hajar al-Hubla, the stone of the pregnant woman, which weighs approximately 2,000 tons. It seems almost beyond belief that human beings, at the very dawn of civilization, could have transported and erected such colossal pieces of masonry. The Soviet scientist Mikhail Agrest posits a theory as bold as it is intriguing. He suggested that these stupendous constructions might not be the work of human hands at all, but rather the handiwork of beings from outer space. Agreste conjectures that these same visitors may have been responsible for the cataclysmic destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah by detonating a portion of the nuclear fuel from their spaceships. Thus, what we might consider mere legends from an ancient era take on a new light, becoming echoes from the astronautical age. Another particularly tantalizing tale speaks of vast tunnel systems beneath South America. Consider for a moment the fate of Cuzco and its treasures. When the Spaniards entered the sacred city and slaughtered the Incan emperor, Atahualpa, they unwittingly buried a secret, one that might have required an armada of ships to transport back to Spain. It is well remembered that Pizarro, having taken Atahualpa prisoner, declared that the emperor's life would only be spared in exchange for all the treasures of the Incas. But the emperor's wife, wise and resolute, sought counsel from the solar oracle. Upon learning that the Spaniards intended to kill Atahualpa regardless of the ransom, she took her own life, not before giving the solemn order that the treasures should be hidden away in secrecy. That immense treasure of Atahualpa now lies hidden deep within the earth, perhaps lost forever. It is said that those who concealed it carried the secret to their graves, leaving the treasures of the Incas to slumber undisturbed in the bowels of the earth. As Harold Wilkin recounts, these riches were concealed in strange subterranean chambers, thousands of years old, which must have been crafted by a mysterious and highly civilized race long vanished from South America. They date back to a time when the ancient Peruvians themselves were but a wandering tribe of barbarians. Wilkins also states mystic hieroglyphs, known only to a single descendant of the Incas in each generation, could open these chambers. The tale is indeed a plausible one, for many such underground passages exist, not only within the former territories of the Incas. The most renowned of these is the system of tunnels said to stretch from Lima to Cuzco, the Inca capital, and further southeastward to the Bolivian border. According to ancient documents, one of these tunnels is believed to conceal a sumptuous royal tomb. This legend has enticed not only scientists, but also treasure seekers of every stripe. Yet the truth of this tale is likely to remain shrouded in mystery for many years to come. The sheer expense of clearing the galleries, which are blocked by rubble, is daunting enough. Moreover, the task would also require dispelling the noxious fumes that have filled these passageways for centuries, fumes that alone could thwart the bravest of explorers. And there are whispered warnings of mortal dangers lurking within. It is said that the Incas, in their wisdom, or perhaps their desperation, left behind booby traps designed to trigger disastrous landslides should any intruder set foot within these sacred galleries. Beyond the lure of untold riches, these tunnels present a fascinating archaeological conundrum. Scholars concur that the tunnels were not carved by the Incas themselves. Though the Incas utilized them, they were ignorant of their origins. So imposing are these subterranean passages that it does not seem entirely absurd to surmise, as some scientists have ventured to do, that they are the handiwork of an unknown race of giants. It is a curious fact, indeed, that tunnels of this nature can be found in nearly every corner of the globe. Beyond the mysterious labyrinths of South America, such subterranean passages exist in places as diverse as California, Virginia, and even Hawaii, where it is said they link the islands of the archipelago. Similar tunnels are found in Oceania and Asia, as well as in Sweden, Czechoslovakia, the Balearic Islands, and Malta. Perhaps most astonishing is the Colossal tunnel that spans between Spain and Morocco, 30 miles of which have already been explored. Many believe that this very tunnel served as the passage through which the Barbary apes, otherwise unknown in Europe, made their way to Gibraltar. Some have even ventured to suggest that these cyclopean galleries form a vast network connecting the most distant reaches of our planet. John Shepard, a journalist who once served as the correspondent for a well-known U.S. periodical in Ecuador, recounts an extraordinary encounter in the summer of 1944. On the Colombian border, he came upon a Mongol deep in meditation, holding a prayer wheel of the sort commonly used in Tibet. It has been proposed that this man was none other than the 13th Dalai Lama, who was believed to have died in 1933, yet was never interred in the crypt prepared for his remains. The explanation offered in Lhasa was that the Lama had not in fact perished, but had undertaken a long and secret pilgrimage through the underground tunnels to the Andes, a place where, according to certain priests, The Lamaist religion was said to have originated and flourished long before its association with Buddhism. Though this tale may strain credulity, there is an air of mystery that surrounds it, one that cannot be easily dismissed. When questioned about these tunnels, lamas have often responded with a simple yet profound affirmation. Yes, they exist. They were made by giants who bestowed upon us their knowledge when the world was young. One might almost be persuaded of the marvels attributed to the ancients when we consider the account provided by Charu regarding Eupalinos, the architect of a tunnel in ancient times on the island of Samos. The tale is nothing short of astonishing. The work was commenced from both ends. The tunnel, stretching 1,000 yards in length, is perfectly straight, and the two teams of diggers met each other with flawless precision, exactly as planned. It is worth noting that the French and Italian engineers who tunneled beneath Mont Blanc had at their disposal an array of modern marvels: electronic measuring devices, radar, magnetic detectors, and ultrasonic equipment. Yet at first it did not quite meet in the middle, and therefore required various adjustments. Eupalinos, on the other hand, achieved perfection without so much as a compass to guide him. Equally astounding from a technical perspective are the basalt sculptures of indeterminate age, unearthed in 1939 in the depths of the Mexican jungle. 5 colossal heads bearing a striking resemblance to the famed monuments of Easter Island. Similar works of prodigious stature have been discovered in the Andes, Asia, and Oceania, each one a testament to the extraordinary capabilities of ancient craftsmen. Another phenomenon of no less wonder is a mountain at Javea in Brazil, which was carved in antiquity to resemble the head of a bearded man wearing a spiked helmet. Remarkably, the effect remains visible despite the relentless erosion of centuries. On one side of this mountain, where the rock presents a sheer vertical face some 3,000 feet in height, there is an inscription carved in cuneiform characters, each letter standing an imposing 10 feet tall. The mystery of how such a feat was accomplished, how those ancient hands reached such dizzying heights to engrave their message, is one for which even the most speculative of solutions has yet to be offered. The archaeologist Bernardo da Silva Ramos has unearthed similar inscriptions across various parts of Latin America, further adding to the mystery of these ancient civilizations. It was he who discovered the monumental ruins on the island of Marajó in the Amazon River, where imposing underground chambers are connected by stone-walled tunnels. This remarkable discovery presented yet another enigma to the scientific community, for within these chambers was found a collection of handsome vases adorned with designs strikingly similar to the Etruscan style. We must also take note of the cuneiform inscriptions uncovered on the Roosevelt Plateau in Brazil, nestled between the provinces of Amazonas and Mato Grosso. These inscriptions, alas, remain indecipherable, yet they are carved upon enormous stone discs, each divided into 6 sectors, which are believed to have been used for astronomical calculations. The list of such wonders could be extended indefinitely, yet let us conclude with a mention of the ruins of Bamiyan, a small town in Afghanistan, northwest of Kabul. This town, situated in the heart of a valley surrounded by natural and artificial caves, was once guarded by 5 statues of varying heights. The tallest of these colossal figures stood at an impressive 180 feet, the next at 125 feet, followed by 2 statues of 60 and 13 feet, while the 5th was no taller than a present-day man. It was once thought that these statues depicted Buddha, a notion propagated by Buddhist priests who had taken refuge in the caves around AD 100. However, upon closer examination, it was revealed that this interpretation was a later addition, as the statues themselves were much older. This is evidenced by the ancient cement cloak that enwrapped the tallest figure, which dates back thousands of years. What, then, do these statues represent? Could it be that they symbolize the decline of a race of giants, their gradual diminishment in size, until finally Homo sapiens emerged as the predominant species? The theories put forth by Seurat and Bellamy concerning the existence of such a race are, in many respects, both plausible and thought-provoking, yet in others they remain obscure and less than convincing. In discussing the Andean civilization, Seurat writes with an air of both wonder and speculation. Some 30,000 years ago, a highly developed civilization, utterly distinct from our own, flourished in the Andes, at elevations of 12,000 or 14,000 feet above what is now the present level of the Pacific Ocean. In those distant times, the sea reached these great heights. Thus, the Tiahuanaco civilization thrived along what was then a seashore. The air at that time was of a density normal for human beings, unlike the thin and nearly unbreathable atmosphere that now reigns over those lofty peaks. How did such a transformation occur? In those ancient days, a satellite, somewhat akin to our present moon, though smaller, circled the Earth. Unlike the moon we know today, which was not yet in the sky, this tertiary moon orbited at a distance of merely 5 to 6 Earth radii. Today, our tides rise and fall gently because our moon is approximately 240,000 miles away, and it takes time to complete its journey around our planet. But the tertiary moon, being so much nearer, revolved far more swiftly. The waters, drawn irresistibly by its powerful gravitational pull, had no time to recede. A permanent tide ensued, gathering all the Earth's waters into a great, unyielding bulge that encircled the planet, which roughly aligned with the tropics. Only what is now the highest ground would have risen above this great girdle of tidal waters. The Andean peaks, the highlands of Mexico, the towering mountains of New Guinea, Tibet, and the Abyssinian Plateau, the home of the Maasai, a people who grow to a remarkable height of 6 feet 6 inches. Some think they are of Cyclopean descent. Yet, how then do we account for the presence of colossal monuments in regions that, according to this theory, would have been submerged beneath the tidal bulge? Furthermore, can we truly believe that the approach of our erstwhile satellite could have been marked by phenomena so singular and restricted, with the most dramatic effects felt only by those inhabiting the highlands? If we grant this premise, we must also assume that ordinary human life continued to flourish in the vast, dried-up lowlands, which would have endured all manner of atmospheric upheavals. Saurat suggests a race of benevolent giants eventually made their way by ship to these regions and bestowed upon our ancestors the gifts of civilization. All this is indeed perplexing. Yet, it is undeniable that giants existed, and it is difficult to dismiss the Saurat-Bellamy theory in its entirety. However, one might offer a simpler explanation for these enigmatic facts. If we entertain the possibility that these giants did not originate on this Earth, but came instead from realms beyond our terrestrial sphere. Some may dismiss this as mere fantasy, and we do not insist that the viewer embrace it as truth, though it remains a theory that continues to captivate the minds of reputable scientists. As we shall see, there are many mysterious remnants of Earth's distant past that lend credence to the hypothesis of interplanetary connections. To conclude the tale of the giants, we may observe that, whatever their mode of arrival upon our world, they must have swiftly established dominance over our diminutive ancestors, yet their reign was a fleeting one. However, as for the actual cause of their decline, it remains shrouded in mystery. According to Saurat and Bellamy, it was the diminishing gravitational pull of the Earth's satellite that led to their downfall. At the same time, proponents of the outer space theory suggest it was the result of their migration from a planet with lesser gravity to one with greater. In any case, the Cyclopes gradually faded from existence. Though giants may have persisted here and there, their physical and mental transformations left them vulnerable to the rising race of men. With the destruction of figures such as Polyphemus and Goliath, the reign of the Titans was brought to an end. Stay tuned for Episode 5. Strange Finds on Easter Island. In the writing of this script, ChatGPT was used to correct grammar. Thanks for watching.